These are the Get Over Yourself podcast sponsors. MOFO, male optimization formula with organs to boost testosterone naturally. B.rad's macadamia masterpiece, a mind-blowing nut butter blend. Carol Fit, stationary bike, awesome 8-minute workout. Organifi, whole food organic superfood supplements and drink blends. Perfect Keto, the cleanest, highest potency ketone supplements. Viore clothing, fashionable, functional, incredibly comfortable performance apparel. And please visit the bradkearns.com shop page for my personal selection of favorite products for health, fitness, and peak performance. And here we go with the show. Eating more and moving more. Not to be confused with the misguided weight loss advice of eating less and moving more, because we know that doesn't work. Eating less and moving more will result in metabolic slowdowns and increase in appetite to try to get back into energy balance. A HIIT workout is depleting and exhausting because you're trying to hit the same interval over and over with minimal rest in between these efforts, where HIRT, high intensity repeat training, is performing these explosive high intensity efforts, whether it's a kettlebell swing for 10 seconds or a sprint for 10 seconds, and then taking what Dr. Marker calls luxurious rest intervals in between. All of us, at all levels of performance, we have this wonderful intuitive ability to determine the right workout to do on a particular day or month or year. We just ignore that voice so frequently due to peer pressure and all kinds of misinformation from the internet. It's time to flow with the Breather Show and some Q&A today. First one comes from McGruder. Hey there, Brad and your team. I started taking MOFO 3 weeks ago. I also intermittent fast from 8 p.m. to noon each day, so I don't take MOFO until I break fast at midday. I have definitely seen a tremendous increase in my daily energy and focus. However, my sleep quality and time has seen a turn for the worse. Knowing how important sleep is to recovery and overall health, I want to get your input on MOFO and how I'm taking it. Is that the only variable that changed? Should I take less than 6 per day? Should I take on an empty stomach first thing in the morning? Will that impact my intermittent fasting? McGruder's 48, athletic, eats a clean diet, and wondering what is up with that sleep thing. So if you look on the Ancestral Supplements website, there's some commentary about somewhat infrequent detox reaction reported by customers where they feel some adverse effects when they start taking the freeze-dried animal organ supplements, not just MOFO, but many other products. And it's believed to be an indication that one's detoxification pathways are coming back online. And so perhaps you are dumping some waste products, toxins into the bloodstream, making you feel crappy in the short term, possibly disrupting your sleep in the example related by Mac. So read about that stuff, and their general recommendation is to dial back on your consumption to allow your body to adjust gradually to getting this wonderful nutrition, replenishing the cells with the exact nutrients they need to thrive when you're talking about targeting for the organ that you're consuming, whether it's kidney, heart, brain, and MOFO, of course, is the compilation of testicles, prostate, heart, liver, and bone marrow. So as you consume this super potent nutritional supplement, dietary supplement, yeah, you might want to experiment with taking fewer capsules and then working back up to the recommended 6 per day. You can take these products on an empty stomach because, after all, they are food. They're freeze-dried animal organs. Unlike many synthetic vitamins, many vitamin or plant extracts that you see in the health food store, where if you take them on an empty stomach, like a multivitamin, you could get dizzy, could get nauseous because they need food to digest properly and assimilate comfortably. So that's my first suggestion, is you could dial back on your consumption. And then secondly, I always say this when people are throwing out symptoms. I used to work the phones for nutritional supplement company. We sold energy drinks, proteins, Champion Nutrition, Cytosport, and people would call in with a strange and curious ailment every time they drank our energy drink. This happened or that happened. And it's possible that it's unrelated. So I would, question this definite conclusion that MOFO is the only variable that you've changed and now you're not sleeping well. And then, maybe it just happens and 3 weeks down the line or a month down the line, your sleep will be normalized. And it's possible that a component of your detox reaction is this lessened sleep quality because maybe your hormonal system's being stimulated, it's keeping you awake. So you report being a healthy, active, metabolically healthy guy. So I would say that you can take some efforts to optimize sleep, winding down, minimizing artificial light and digital stimulation after dark, working outside of this direct parameter with the question you're asking about the supplement. And check out more people at bradkearns.com/mofo. This is male optimization formula with organs. The response has been tremendous. We're getting great feedback from people reporting increased energy, increased focus, better libido, all the broad spectrum of benefits that you would expect from taking this extremely potent and nutrient-dense supplement with the proteins, peptides, enzymes, cofactors, and molecular biodirectors that are helping to naturally boost your internal testosterone production as opposed to the drug approach where you're taking an exogenous form of testosterone and basically shutting down your internal production. Also effective, but of course, entirely different path, entirely different fork on the road than trying to optimize everything you can possibly do with your diet, with your supplementation, especially this unique new product, and all the other things on the list of assignments, I call them, with the MOFO mission. So we're trying to have this comprehensive lifestyle approach to testosterone optimization. You can go to bradkearns.com, click on MOFO. You'll see the full rundown, and you can download a free ebook called Becoming a Modern Day MOFO with great details about how to get into all these lifestyle factors that we're concerned about these days, including minimizing your exposure to environmental estrogens, cleaning up your diet, dealing with relationships and places where unhealthy relationship dynamics can trash your testosterone, even if you're eating super cleanly and exercising properly. So it's an all-encompassing approach, and I hope you can go take a look at that at the link as we proceed to Daniel's question. And this is a long one, and he brought up a really interesting point that we engaged back and forth with on email. So speaking for Mark, who he mentions a lot through this message, we both pride ourselves on being open-minded, willingness to change our positions, refine, modify our positions. You've heard Sisson talk a lot and write a lot recently about the carnivore dietary pattern, the carnivore-ish diet, and how he's kind of drifted over in that direction instead of being the supreme salad king of the planet with his daily salad and his plant-heavy dietary patterns. He's trying to emphasize his animal food intake, highest quality animal foods, animal superfoods, and just be open-minded about what this carnivore message is presenting. So anyway, here's something that Daniel's calling into question about something that we've said for a long time. And he says, in Keto for Life, I know you talk about this metabolic efficiency being, as Mark would say, what's the least amount of food and calories I can get away with and still feel satisfied and function optimally. And when you build this caloric efficiency, it's believed to be strongly associated with longevity. They don't have a lot of studies in humans, but with mice, caloric restriction is the single most powerful longevity attribute ever discovered in the lab, any lifestyle attribute. So it's a big deal that you can optimize so that you don't need massive amounts of calories to feel healthy, active, and energetic. So this is kind of one of the premises of the big ketogenic diet craze, that you can feel satisfied with this carb restriction, with these delicious meals that are high in fat, moderate protein, and extremely low carb, not stimulate insulin accordingly, and feel completely satisfied while dropping excess body fat because you're minimizing carb intake and minimizing insulin production. So here's Daniel saying, I'm thinking that a faster metabolism is better, in contrast to what we're saying with this caloric efficiency. And here's the point. We don't get a fast metabolism from eating. We get it from burning calories, from not sitting. If standing up burns 100 calories an hour, and some people can't lose weight eating 1,500 calories a day, the answer isn't always diet. Sitting is the chronic disease that not enough people are talking about. I know you guys touch on it a lot yourselves, but if he's opening up this picture to not just looking at dietary caloric efficiency, but also the other side of the equation of being more active and moving more. So here's more details about his message. You've entertained the notion that we maybe want a slow metabolism to live a long time. Reptiles are notorious for their long lives, might be attributed to their eating habits. They only feast like once a week. The snake will go eat the rat or whatever. So they have these big feasts. Then they have a very slow and drawn out metabolism where they can conserve energy. And then you have the long living turtles getting up near 200 years and other examples of longevity in the reptile world. I love this less food, slower metabolism notion for a while, but recently I had a pivot in thinking. And I'm a young guy, I'm only 20 years old. I want to be able to eat more and move more. Life should almost be a game of who can burn the most calories without encountering inflammation. That is like the overtraining patterns. Good point. I'm not suggesting chronic cardio. We've both been there and done that. I used to be a crazy runner in the high school, running 80 miles a week, running a few marathons. That was fueled by a lot of pasta and sleep deprivation in high school. So what I'm embracing is this concept of eating more nutritious foods, I'll editorialize, eating more and moving more, not to be confused with the misguided weight loss advice of eating less and moving more, because we know that doesn't work. Eating less and moving more will result in metabolic slowdowns and increase in appetite to try to get back into energy balance. So if we're moving around at a slow pace, just like our ancestors, sitting's the chronic disease no one's talking about. I guess it's not as sexy as talking about diet, but sitting down is contagious. It should be reserved for small portions of morning and night. It's contagious because we do what we're doing with people around us, right? Dan continues for a little longer and makes the general takeaway point that if we can set this objective to move more in daily life, that's going to be strongly correlated with health, longevity, weight control, and also enable us to eat more rather than having this open and shut case of the less you eat, the longer you're going to live. Excellent. Thank you. For a nice letter from just a young man of age 20 thinking about these big concepts. Love it, man. I don't know what I was thinking about at age 20, but it was probably like variations on my hot fudge sundae recipe or what have you. Okay, Chuck Sims says, "Hey, Brad, I've been following your carnivore journey. I also follow Saladino and read his book. I tried it for a month, the carnivore, and felt better. But I'm also an endurance athlete, and when I would go out to ride or run, my energy levels were shot. I'm familiar with math and heart rate training, and I feel like I need something on those long days. Do you have any input or thoughts on that? I know you're a former triathlete yourself." Oh, right. Thanks for the letter. Yeah, this is a little more nuanced than saying, hey, don't eat plants, eat a bunch of meat, and oh, by the way, yeah, go ahead and put in your big miles on the bike and running and swimming. So the individuality of this approach to especially a restrictive diet is going to be the key factor. And so you're going to have to test things out that make you feel better and help you perform better on these long endurance workouts. My main man, Eddie the Ashcan Man, keto and carnivore enthusiast, and also an endurance athlete, triathlete, he reports the same thing, that he's had certain workouts where he feels like total crap, no gas in the tank, and I wouldn't say that's a healthy or necessary step along the path. So what's been popular, especially among extreme athletes, endurance athletes, even CrossFit people and just high calorie burning athletes, is to target that carbohydrate consumption at the times when you are going to need it. And maybe that's before workouts and certainly after workouts, right? So I think we can most likely get away with doing a 2-hour bike ride or an hour run without any calories or onboard calories. But if you can make a experiment to replenish carbohydrates after these workouts, that might help you recover the next day and 3 days later and 5 days later. I love Ben Greenfield's take on this, where he talks about getting the best of both worlds, where he banks a lot of hours in a fasted state, making his ketones, being that clean, lean machine, doing his workouts and getting the autophagy benefits and all that from minimal caloric intake or carbohydrate restriction. And then in the evenings, he makes a point of enjoying his life and his family time. So he and his kids and his wife will concoct up recipes and treats and high carbohydrate preparations, and he'll consume those knowing that after an overnight fast and then a few hours into a busy following day, including some ambitious workouts, he'll be back in that vaunted state of ketosis and anti-inflammatory autophagy, all that great stuff. And so you can see how he's ensuring that he recovers from his workouts, individual workouts, and his workout patterns, while still adhering to all the ideals of that low carbohydrate approach. Okay. And of course, the carnivore rationale being that you're emphasizing and getting most of your calories from the most nutritious foods. So that's one kind of rationale for carnivore, is that if you are consuming liver and lots of pasture-raised eggs and oily cold water fish, and getting totally satisfied and getting your caloric needs met, you kind of crowd out the crackers, cookies, cakes, and things like that might otherwise fill up that caloric volume each day. Okay, Brad says, hey, long time listener, first time caller. Thanks for putting out great content. Thank you for listening, Brad. I'm totally on board with the HIRT versus HIIT. It makes complete sense. And if you're not familiar with that, I have a breather show talking about, this is a concept advanced by Dr. Craig Marker. HIRT stands for high intensity repeat training, and HIIT is the familiar high intensity interval training. And the comparison here is that, almost by definition, a HIIT workout is depleting and exhausting because you're trying to hit the same interval over and over, with minimal rest in between these efforts, where HIRT, high intensity repeat training, is performing these explosive high intensity efforts, whether it's a kettlebell swing for 10 seconds or a sprint for 10 seconds, and then taking what Dr. Marker calls luxurious rest intervals in between so that you can repeat, that's the R in the acronym, repeat the same high quality performance without that cumulative fatigue that occurs during a HIIT workout. So Brad wonders, can the same logic apply to traditional HIIT workouts such as a Tabata interval session? So rather than 8 times 20 seconds on and 10 seconds recovery, that's the Tabata template, could you do 20 seconds followed by 2 minutes off and then stop when the quality deteriorates? Of course you can. And of course you're not going to call it a Tabata workout anymore. You're going to call it a HIRT workout, right? But specifically relating to the very popular Tabata protocol of a 2-to-1 work effort to rest period, remember or acknowledge that the research describing how wonderful this training methodology is and how quickly it can help you improve came from the original research came with Japanese short track speed skaters, where they did these Tabata interval workouts and experienced performance breakthroughs. But it was a 4-minute workout. It was 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 4 minutes. That's it. Just like Brad writes, 8 times 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, that's 8 blocks of 30 seconds, and the workout's over. So the way that Tabata has been bastardized and abused today, if you go into the gym and you'll see on the message board, 9 a.m. Tabata workout, and they go and honor this protocol for workouts lasting for an hour. So first you're going to do your Tabata kettlebells, then you're going to do your Tabata dance steps, and then you're going to go over here and do the box jumps. So to honor the high intensity repeat training concept, you are going to perform these explosive efforts, whether they're sprints or kettlebell swings, for between 10 and 20 seconds is your work effort, the duration. That's the sweet spot to get a lot of fitness benefits without extending too long and trying to sustain maximum output for longer than 20 seconds. You will easily engage in cellular destruction and delayed recovery time. That's what Dr. Marker's article is all about, describing that process of disassembling and deamination of the cellular proteins from trying to fuel the fire to go for 30-second sprints or 1-minute sprints or whatever your crazy workout's telling you to do. So you do work efforts between 10 and 20 seconds with luxurious rest intervals in between. And that could be a 6-to-1 ratio. So if you're sprinting for 10 seconds, you rest for 60 seconds, and then you do another sprint for 10 seconds, rest for 60 seconds. Plenty of rest. And I'm going to say the optimal number of reps would be somewhere between 4 and 10. If you feel like, gee, only 10, I felt like I can do 15 or 20. Well, I'm going to suggest working harder, going faster during your effort. So you shouldn't feel like doing more than 10. And certainly even a novice can do 4 sprints of 10 seconds if you're thinking about someone getting on a stationary bike and just opening up the throttle for a little bit and then backing it off and taking plenty of rest. Okay, second question. Mark Sisson still recommends combining micro workouts with longer, more structured strength training sessions as part of a complete toolkit. Given that, how would you recommend distributing these with other workouts in a given week? I can see myself drifting into too much of a good thing pattern. Sure, your micro workouts are for a strong fitness enthusiast, which you sound like you are, Brad, and whoever's listening that's really into fitness. The micro workouts would be a nice complement to your longer duration, more formal sessions. But I will personally comment that in this age group that I'm in now, 55, baby, I am doing less frequent, full-on, full duration, high intensity workouts at the gym or sprinting or whatever. I never really did sprint more frequently than once a week, and I think that's plenty for almost anybody. Getting to the gym, Primal Blueprint has always talked about doing 2 strength training sessions a week lasting 30 minutes or less, and that is also plenty. And if you're finding that you might benefit from doing less than that, that's also okay, because the micro workouts, when if you take the cumulative effect of doing something cool every day, even if it's for a minute here, a minute there, 4 minutes here, 4 minutes there, these will put you at a really high fitness level without that risk of breakdown or getting into the pattern of too much of a good thing as you describe. But if you do have fitness goals, it certainly makes sense to get out there and do something full duration, major effort. We'll call it a breakthrough workout or a key workout once a week, I'd say, is something that's reasonable and realistic. And then, be careful doing more than that and throw in micro workouts instead. Okay, good day from down under from Tom Verdich. And this is an interesting account and life story woven into insights about the biology of belief, and I think you're going to listen to it. So Tom's from Canberra, Australia, and he read my Meet Brad passage on the website where I talk about my personal life story, athletic background, and my time in the accounting world, and then pursuing a career as a professional triathlete and all that stuff. And he says, my journey with yours is uncanny. He was an economics graduate. He did his accountancy degree, and then he went into the business scene and made it for 2 years, and then went to pursue a triathlon career. Unlike yours, mine didn't go anywhere. Tom says, and that's okay, man, because we're all on our path. And I was just talking to Sisson about this the other day, where he's glad for everything that happened to him that seemed like a failure at the time. Virtually everything. He says, not going to medical school, best thing I ever did in my life. But of course, at the time, he felt like, maybe he was falling off the path. He decided to go paint houses and run marathons instead of go to medical school. And then, the failure of one business venture led to the next business venture that was successful, and so on down the line. His injuries and his breakdown that occurred from his marathoning and triathloning led him to leave the extreme endurance sports and go pursue a career in personal training and health and fitness and nutrition. So, yeah. I just wanted to throw that in there when Tom telling his story of trying for a triathlon dream and having to turn the corner. Years ago, After massively overtraining, I came down with what the Aussies call glandular fever. We call it mono here in the States. This led to all kinds of post-viral symptoms lasting 3 years. I couldn't exercise. My legs felt like lead. As you can imagine, I went to all kinds of alternative physicians. Nothing worked. Rest, diet, supplementation. Then my father-in-law read a newspaper article about another young athlete with chronic fatigue who made a miracle recovery after attending a 3-day workshop. I was willing to try anything. The workshop was related to the science of neuroplasticity and the power of beliefs controlling our physical health. He mentions Bruce Lipton's biology of belief because I've done a show about that. He hasn't read the book, but he imagines this is all interconnected, which it is. So I started to, this is Tom talking, change his beliefs. I realized that I believed exercise would make me more tired. If I overdid it, I'd pay for it later. I formed a belief that exercise was dangerous. My brain turned on signals of fatigue so it would keep me safe. In order to get better from this chronic fatigue pattern that he was suffering from, I needed to use the power of neuroplasticity to rewire my brain. I know this is a long story, but when I got the book Primal Endurance, it changed my approach to exercise. I loved it. I wish it had been published 10 years earlier. And now I'm back running and exercising and, trying to drop some excess weight and do everything in a healthy manner. And so I guess his takeaway message was that he was so afraid of, repeat bouts of chronic fatigue that he started to associate, had made some negative formulations in his brain about exercise, and that manifested into fatigue. Get it? So by opening up to the idea that exercise could be nourishing, energizing, was not going to destroy him, he was able to make a breakthrough. Now, his second point, I was listening to your podcast with Zach Bitter, great show, and I want to highlight one of your quotes, which should be on the refrigerator door of every single endurance athlete the world over. Quote, this from Brad Kearns, this quote. All of us at all levels of performance, we have this wonderful intuitive ability to determine the right workout to do on a particular day or month or year. We just ignore that voice so frequently due to peer pressure and all kinds of misinformation from the internet, end quote. All right. Yeah, true. We have to put our intuition front and center when we're making training decisions. And anytime we depart from intuition, oh boy, in favor of, let's say, following a regimented schedule or caving into peer pressure or ego demands, boy, is that a recipe setting you up for struggle and suffer and failure. Number 3, I love your Get Over Yourself podcast, the intentions behind it. I'm also doing my best to get over myself. And lately I've been forcing myself not to look at Strava. That's the app that posts the results of all your workouts, because I realize this is just feeding into it. And, looking for people to comment on my efforts. I mean, who am I running for? Me or them? Okay. I was just wondering if you have any tips that you incorporate in daily life that you might want to share that help you get over yourself. Oh my goodness. One way is to realize that I'm in this privileged position to connect with so many wonderful experts who I get to interview for the show and interface directly and have the potential for massive impact and massive life change. I mean, after all, these are the world's foremost experts. I'm thinking of a quote from the #1 best-selling author, Mark Manson, author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, the runaway sensation that sold over 10 million copies worldwide, and also his more recent book, Everything is Fucked, a book about hope. And he says, self-worth is an illusion. And it's a source of ongoing pain and suffering to the extent that it becomes a form of persistent low-level narcissism, to be caught up in your self-worth and your self-concept and your image and your reputation. And he says, instead, the path to happiness is through self-discipline, to make choices that make you happy. And he wants you to, quote, maintain an identity that is defined by as little as possible, and instead see your life as simply a series of decisions and actions. And then you apply the self-discipline to make good decisions, take good actions. And boy, that's just life-changing advice. I love that. I get to reflect on that kind of stuff, and definitely appropriate there when you ask me what are my secrets to getting over myself. and also about the comments where he associated exercise and training with fatigue. I can totally relate to that, because if you've been overtrained repeatedly, like I did to myself over the years of my triathlon career, I started to harbor fears and anxieties and insecurities that I would overdo it again, because I knew that kind of pain and suffering and that anguish that you get from being too tired to, want to get up and have a normal day or adhere to your training schedule. So, those fears start to layer up and, form scar tissue over the years where, I would be hesitant to push my body once in a while, hearkening back to the pain and suffering that I experienced during my triathlon career. So yeah, it's good to just continue to open up that mind, form new beliefs. As I talked about during the Bruce Lipton show, everything requires a little bit of healthy and sensible balance here, because if you listen to Bruce Lipton long enough and get that fired up, he might misinterpret his message to say that if you believe sleep isn't important, all you need to do is formulate that belief, and you'll send that message to every cell in your body so that you can sleep for 2 hours and then set that alarm and pop up. Let's say, what would you do if you only had to sleep 2 hours? Would it be like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m.? I don't know. What do you think, people? Yeah, I get 2 hours of sleep every night because I believe that's all I need. Of course, we can't, fool the laws of Mother Nature and physics and biology just with the power of the mind, but we can certainly apply more mind power to all the anxieties and fears that come up in daily life. All right, that was some pretty fun and great variety of questions, comments, and storytelling. Thank you for listening, everyone. Send your own feedback and comments. getoveryourselfpodcast@gmail.com. And I would love for you to take a little bit of time to write a review up to Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast player you use. Maybe you're listening on YouTube. Make a few comments, maybe send a text message to a friend, say, hey, listen to this episode. It might really be interesting to you, that kind of thing. Connect, network, and go check out my YouTube channel, Brad Kearns. We're making a lot of effort to put up some really cool videos, especially the recent one here in the fall of 2020 called Day in the Life. And I know it's an hour long and that might be a little intimidating, but I take you through start to finish all the cool stuff that I do in a typical day and explain it, my morning flexibility, mobility, core and leg strengthening routine, my cold plunging, my jogging 2.0 workout where I've modified the typical jog to include all sorts of drills and other challenges, a whole bunch of micro workouts to choose from to break up your busy day, and of course all the mealtime preparations, stand-up desk workplace variation, all kinds of great stuff. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for listening to the show. We would love your feedback at getoveryourselfpodcast@gmail.com. And we would also love if you could leave a rating and a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a hassle. You have to go to desktop iTunes, click on the tab that says ratings and reviews, and then click to rate the show anywhere from 5 to 5 stars. And it really helps spread the word so more people can find the show and get over themselves, because they need to. Thanks for doing it.